Returning to our top story, Australia's decision to scrap the French submarine project has left a cloud of uncertainty over South Australia's manufacturing sector. Hundreds of small businesses and 350 direct jobs are impacted. The state's premier has promised them new jobs, and some businesses see opportunity in the nuclear submarine project.
The prospect of selling high-level welding technology to French submarine builders Naval Group ripped from under their feet.
We were in discussions with Naval, quite advanced, towards using our technology for pipe spooling, basically making the pipe work for the submarines. And obviously it's a bit of a disappointment with where it is, but there are a lot of SMEs, who will suffer a lot worse than what we are.
But this Adelaide business is also focused on the future and the Australian nuclear-powered submarine project.
But there are some great Australian businesses. In our context, our welding technology is used in the nuclear industry throughout the world for doing this sort of things. We should be applying these technologies on these projects.
Around 500 small to medium businesses were scaling up to supply the French company, which last month celebrated finalising $10 million in local contracts. Many based in Adelaide now reconsidering their involvement with the defence industry.
Now they're wondering where does that leave them, particularly with those arrangements. So you're talking about wholesale structural changes to businesses to suit this particular program.
Under the agreement with the US and the UK, Australia will become the 7th country in the world to have nuclear-powered submarines, after the USA, the UK, China, Russia, India and France.
Work for our nation.
The South Australian government is promising long-term jobs.
And so my strong message to people that might be at school at the moment, thinking about their careers, there are decades and decades of work. Fantastic work.
The government hoping other projects, including the Collins-class life extension and the full-cycle docking, will help fill the job gap.
But those jobs are some time off yet. 2024 until we do the air warfare destroyers, and 2026 before we do the life extensions.
The first of more than 2,500 trades were set to start work this year.
We've had a history of what's called the Valley of Deaths, where people have been out of work because the shipbuilding work hasn't been continuous, and we were hopeful that the Naval Group project was going to see a lifelong, at least 50 years project.
How much of the build will be undertaken on Australian soil and the quota of local products are questions creating angst in a sector that suffered decades of false starts.
Ideally, we want to see the build from the ground up, construction, manufacture, not just assembly, done here in Adelaide.
This is really a big opportunity to realign that, and the government in the negotiations for the new contract can put an emphasis on Australian-owned companies doing the really important stuff.
Those issues likely to be discussed during the 18-month consultation period with the US and the UK. Peter Doherty, SBS World News.